Hey guys, sorry the angle's not amazing or the lighting. I'm going to attempt this one take video because I really wanted to do a video on this topic, but I'm just not finding the time to get it done. And I also just want to try this one take version of videos because I think it would be quite a nice way to produce content, especially when we're talking about really human subjects that you kind of want it to be really real and unedited anyway. So I apologise in advance for any waffling and pauses and all the weird mannerisms that I do that I can usually hide through editing. Uh, um, so we are talking about if your partner goes away without you and dealing with how that feels. It's very human and very natural to find that difficult sometimes. You are not abnormal if you go through this. You are quite the opposite. I think it's a lot more normal than anyone lets on, especially if you live with someone and you're together all the time. You know, just even the attachment side of it, with someone then not being there, it feels different. But if you struggle with it for other reasons, especially if it's to do with kind of, even if you trust your partner, it can be like you can get anxious about who they might meet, the sort of time they're going to have, all of those things. And even if you kind of feel like you've got no, not right to, but no kind of reason to warrant you feeling that way, it doesn't mean that you can't have them feelings. You know, you can, it can still be a natural thing to have feelings, and that's okay. It's how you deal with them that counts. And I've been with my partner for 18 years, since we were in school. So we went through college, uni and work life, and so we've been on quite a few trips separately. The one he's on right now is a stag do, which is what led me to think about doing this video, because I remember a time when those sort of trips were really uncomfortable for me, and even though I didn't really admit it to anyone or myself, it's one of the most healing things you can do is admitting to yourself how you actually feel and accepting that that's okay. And it's not about not feeling the things, it's about how you deal with them and how you deal with them and bring them to the table to get support. For example, if you are talking to your partner about how you're feeling, it's that you're not being an awful person that's giving them a really hard time and being really actually unfair to them. I think it's really important to look at whether you've got anger. It's quite like natural. I used to have this when I was younger, and sometimes I would get jealous or insecure about my partner with other girls. Just like, you know, if he'd be flirting, or what conversations they're going to have, or what he's going to think towards other girls and things like that. And I would find myself being like really kind of bitter and like angry towards him, even when he hadn't done anything and didn't deserve that. And actually, it's like that thing they say where it's like underneath like anyone being horrible or anger is pain and is vulnerability, like being scared of losing the love that you have. And I think that's a really beautiful place to start, actually, is the fact that you are just, if you are feeling anxious about your partner going away, even though you love them, you want them to have a good time and everything else, you are just nervous about losing what you've got and the love that you've got. And it's a beautiful thing to sit there and be like, actually, as hard as this is, how amazing and how grateful and thankful am I to actually have what I have in my life. And it's a really good way of noticing and being able to take a second and actually appreciate what you've got and how much it means to you. And I think that's a really nice reframe of realising that, yeah, you just actually really love this person, really care about what you've got together, and don't want anything to threaten that, which is a very fair and human feeling to have, so accept that for yourself. Also, the next thing that I was just about to say, what did I just think of that led from that? Yes, it's very easy to push someone away. I'm only talking about my own experience, by the way, and the kind of personality I have, and then the things I used to do and how I've reframed it for myself. So some might not resonate to you. So sorry if this isn't helpful, but I just thought it'd be an interesting conversation. It's very easy when you are feeling those sort of feelings to accidentally try to push someone away, by being, you can just start feeling annoyed at them, you can start feeling negative towards them, moody, all those things. And I don't know if it's like a natural protection thing that you kind of start putting your walls up, or what it is, but I definitely used to do it a lot, and I would just get moody, and I felt like I wanted to, kind of push him away, when the opposite was what I actually wanted. I needed more connection, more feelings to help me feel like more secure in the relationship, and more security, validation, love. And of course, I was giving off the opposite signals, so that would not kind of happen. And yeah, my partner's been brilliant, and always kind of supportive through those sorts of things. But I just notice in myself now, when I think about how I am now compared to how I used to be, I don't think I even half realised what I was doing, or what I needed. I think that's the side. I knew what I was doing, I think, but I don't think I realised what I needed. And actually, if I sought out actual conversation and about it in, not in like a whiny, way, but in like a, actually, like, I've sat back and thought about what I need to feel more secure in this, or just better, and like, kind of, we did actually do this, like, find the things that work for you. So for example, we've both ways, when we go away, like, we don't want the feeling of having to be on your phone to your partner all the time, or messaging all the time, but you also don't want that thing where someone goes away and then they're just like, you don't hear from them, and you're kind of like, oh, okay, like, how is your trip and stuff. So we found like a once a day message or call was a really nice thing to do, just to check in, just to show that you're there, you're thinking of the person, you care, but also you're up having a great time and whatever. And sometimes, it depends on where you're going, how often you go away, the distance and everything. But I think it's really important to not try and think that like being in contact the whole time is going to help you. It usually does the opposite. And I found this with nights out and things as well. I used to always want my partner to message me all the time, or like, every hour or few hours when I was much younger. And all it did was make everything worse for myself. So like, for example, I would be waiting on the messages, then I'd try and keep the conversation going, and then of course he's with his friends and trying to have a good time and doesn't want to be on his phone all the time, so he's not coming back to me straight away. And then I would find myself getting annoyed about that. And it was just like this, it took over my whole evening. And it's like, don't do that to yourself. Like, you need to go and live your life while they're doing theirs. Like, distraction really works. And actually, if you kind of ruminate on what they're doing and you literally live through them, you will feel terrible because you are neglecting yourself. Like now, for example, if he's having a night out, I literally plan a beautiful evening for myself. I get excited. I'm literally like, oh, what am I going to do? Have a proper girly. Oh, my battery's low. I'll have to be quick. Have a proper girly evening, and like really think of like a ritual I can do for myself. Some proper self-care, or maybe like plan something with friends, or whatever you feel like doing. It's the same when they're going away. So I also have always found it's more useful to really, home in back on yourself. Think about booking up your diary, making sure that you're busy doing some nice things for yourself, making yourself feel good, because you are the most important person in your life before your partner too. You're the person that you've come onto this earth with and you will die with. You are the person that is the most stable in your life. The relationship with yourself is the most stable in your life, is what I'm trying to say, and is the most important relationship in your life, in my opinion. So you should always put yourself first. And I'm a mother. Of course, I put my child before everything, but even there, like, you have to fill your own cup to be able to be a good partner, a good parent, a good whatever. Like, if you don't, they won't get what they need from you anyway. So just put yourself first, and do what actually makes you feel happier. Realise that you are a team with your partner, and don't suddenly be on another team. Don't push them away. Don't feel angry at them. Think about what you need to feel supported. Also think about their needs, and that you're not trying to make them live for you and needing to message you every hour that they're away. Or because actually my mum taught me something really good. You never want someone to be doing things in your relationship because they feel they have to, and because you're controlling, or because you've made them feel so guilty. You want them to live their fullest, truest lives for themselves, because you don't want to be loved by someone where you're questioning, are they just doing that because I've really forced them to? You want to be in a relationship where you get to know that they're choosing to do these things because they want to, and they're messaging you because they want to. And also, that's another thing that I used to do, is that, like, well, I'd have done this because I love you that much, so why aren't you thinking that way? Like, don't make stories in your head. My counsellor said this to me before, like, you've made a whole story over the reasons he's not replied and how he's thought about things and whatever else, and it's like, or whatever else it's about. And actually, your story is fantasy. You don't know circumstances, and then you can make a whole emotional response over your own story before you even know what's going on. And that's also something that doesn't actually help yourself. So thinking, is your behaviour helping you or hindering you and your relationship? You want, especially if you deal with the kind of anxiety over, if your partner's gonna kind of be like interested in other people and things like that. Like, the least likely they're gonna be doing that, and the more they're gonna be thinking of you, is when your relationship feels really good and they feel really good with you and they value what they've got with you. And that comes from being open and honest and getting the support you need, but knowing that you're a team and being the best version of yourself, which comes from loving yourself and giving yourself what you need, and knowing that you are a priority, and you really are. You deserve to be loved. You deserve to be looked after by yourself, and you deserve to matter and to be thought about, and for your time to be thought about, and not just to be thinking what someone else is doing. Oh God, that was another point I wanted to say on this, but I'm worried about my battery as well. I really am just waffling, and I hope that this is useful to someone, because I don't really know what's coming out my mouth, to be honest. But there was something else I wanted to say. Also just the bigger picture, that actually, if you are worried about kind of that loyalty side of things and crossing lines and all of that stuff, if it's not meant to be, like, let the person do what they're going to do, because it's much better to see how someone would actually act and know how respected you are and the relationship is. And just that thing that if someone's going to cheat or really do you wrong, it's a blessing in disguise, because you can leave that relationship and there will be something better for you. And actually, I just always think there's that side to that of like, well, at least it happened and you know where you are with it. But also, yeah, it's a really hard one, because I was going to say give your partner the benefit of the doubt, but obviously you can't really say that, because, you know, every relationship's different and you know the person. I think always trust your gut and be careful of, when I say always trust your gut, I also think people know when they are ruminating on things, making things bigger than they need to be, making things worse than they are, blowing up to have the argument with their partner, usually just because they want them to be trying to make them feel better, to feel closer and more connected again. Actually, you can skip all that and you can just be honest with your partner in a nice way about how you're feeling and that you need some support. If you don't have a partner that's supportive in that way, and usually the only way then that people aren't is that if they feel attacked and then they put an attack response on, and so they might be like feeling that you're what's the word, when you kind of not judge someone, but you for God's sake, what's that word, when you kind of say, oh, like you're saying they're going to do something and they feel like you're, I can't think what the blooming word is. Anyway, that sort of response is usually just because they feel attacked. If you come from a place of vulnerability, of that you're looking for connection and that you are actually just feeling a bit like this because of how much you care about the relationship and how much you've realised you love the person and all of that stuff, that's a real compliment to someone. Like, imagine your partner saying that to you, you know, like, it's a real compliment. And I think it's important to remember that if you're coming from the right place, you can get that support without kind of making your partner feel attacked and everything else. And so, yeah, my main points are just to focus on yourself more, accept how you feel, acknowledge it for yourself, and know that it is okay, it is normal, it is human, it's about how you act on it. And also just be kind to yourself and don't make it worse for yourself. You know deep down if you're doing stuff that's making it worse for yourself. For example, constantly wanting them to be messaging you and things like that, wanting to know where they are, what they're doing at every moment. Like, that's not actually good for you, and it's not good for them, and it's not good for your relationship. So as uncomfortable as it is, the more you are stronger with yourself over these things and get yourself in line over, you know, I always think about how I want to be able to act when I'm on holiday, things I want to be able to do. I don't want to be having to think, oh, I have a message and he's going to be annoyed at me. Like, that just makes me feel rubbish about the relationship, you know? You want your partner to not feel rubbish about the relationship. You want to be able to love each other but also feel free. And I think that's another thing about long-term relationships. If you're with someone that you think you want to be with forever and you want it to work out forever and everything else, think about if you're with someone forever and how you want your own life to feel. You want to feel free. You want to feel like you can be yourself. You want to feel like you can express yourself, enjoy being with other people, that your friends, and not feel trapped in some sort of dynamic where you're worrying too much about what someone else is thinking, or, you know, like, you're a team, you're meant to be like a strong just team. And I think remembering that and focusing on building and strengthening that, as well as the love for yourself, is the key to this type of thing. And just practice, like nights out, times away, practice in those moments, the focusing on yourself and the not obsessing over them and what they're doing. Anyway, that was a real random chat. I hope that made any sense and is useful to someone out there. And yeah, see you later.